Hey, y'all. This is Dr. Traci Harrell, and there's a couple of things we always talk about with Better Together and Living Powerfully, right? We almost, almost always talk about getting better, right? In one way or another, it's like, how do we get better? How do we live powerfully? How do we do the things that we are truly designed to do? Whatever we think we're set up to do. I'm going to ask my producer to help blur my background, but that's neither here nor there. What I wanted to do today is really give us an opportunity to focus on truly realizing that time is going to keep moving forward and we have complete control on how we show up. Now, is the world somewhat crazy? Would a lot of people believe that there's a lot going on that you don't have control over? Absolutely. More now than ever. There's so much that we don't have control over, but what we do have control over is how you show up in the midst of the shenanigans. Let me just say that again. Don't have control over a lot of things, but what you do have control over is how you show up, given the shenanigans. Like, people are gonna not meet your expectations, right? Elections are not going to show up the way you would hope. Dollars are not going to flow as quickly as you would like. People are going to, say things that might harm you. They're going to do things that maybe they don't intend to harm you, but you feel some kind of way about it. So things are going to happen, right? Prices of eggs and gas are going to go up, right? Contracts are not going to go your way. That promotion is not going to go your way. Your child is going to decide they don't want to talk to you, or your loved one. Like, there's all going to be all kind of shenanigans. We know that to be the case. What's super exciting is how incredible would 2025 be for you if you got to say, everything that I hoped would happen in 2025, everything that I hope would happen is happening. I'm going to close my blinds. It looks like I have stripes on me or something. It's a little bit better. So again, we get to decide what 2025 looks like. We get to decide how we show up and how we excel and exceed in 1,000 different ways. And we were talking about, again, there's a number of things I could focus on, right? We've talked about your ability to see your own saboteurs and to tap into these sage superpowers. So last week we talked about some of the sage superpowers. I'm going to go really quickly through them because I want to get to the next level of superpowers and then really talk about what that means and what does that look like for us. How does that sound? Yay! So I think, I gotta add some commentary first. So Dr. James Carter, I think many of you know, we started this work because, he was president of the Seattle chapter of the National Black MBA Association. And he died. He died in November. It was unexpected. It was sudden. And it made us all kind of like pause and just remember that we're not promised tomorrow. And he and I had done a series together of programming. We had planned the next series literally 3 days after he passed away. We had a next series planned that Wednesday. He died on a Monday or late Sunday night or something. So it was that Wednesday. We had a whole series of things he had committed to because he's like, we are not promised tomorrow. And we have a responsibility when you know a thing, and especially when you know how to help people get through life better, easier, with ease and flow. We kind of have a responsibility to do that, whether there's children or adults, old people, families, businesses. Like, we really do have an opportunity and a responsibility to put this out into the universe. So I show up week in and week out as my contribution to the cause because there are things that I know work. Can I implement them in different ways? Absolutely. Will I implement them in different ways? Absolutely. So what we're talking about today is I'm moving on and I'm moving forward, focused on, again, these superpowers. And it's really saying, how do I show up differently? When things happen, we talk about the sage perspective, that every situation can be turned into a gift and an opportunity. Well, guess what? True. Even the bad ones, even the worst ones that you can imagine, right? So what we've done as a family is we've talked about our saboteurs. We've talked about, what it looks like for us to move through a series of accountabilities. And the first one that we looked at as a group was this concept of empathize. I'm gonna see if I can get this in there. Look at us working it out. So it was this concept of empathizing. Let me see if I can move my head where it's supposed to be. Okay. So again, empathizing is love. It's offering grace. It's not only to others, but to yourself as number one. Like, how do you empathize, right? How do you show up differently, right? And I'm going to move really, really, really quickly. We talked about this concept of fear and love. These are our two motivators, fear and love. Empathy and, empathizing is obviously leading with love, right? It's leaving that whole concept of the fear of failure, the fear of looking bad, the fear of being imperfect, right? We leave all that alone, and those are conditional love, right? We're focused on like, how do we get to show up? And I'm moving really, really quickly and really remember who we are on the inside. We talked about, remember that golden sage self that's on the inside, that positive, beautiful person that's worthy of love. That was, again, I'm reviewing last week, but that was part of what we talked about, right? Being unconditionally remembering the wonderful person that you are on the inside. So when something happens, you get to cut yourself some slack, right? Give yourself a little grace when it comes to living powerfully, showing up in your best, right? So getting rid of that plaster facade, but really remembering who you are, discovering your true self, right? I'm moving past all of this stuff because there's some stuff we talked about with the neuroscience of the brain. People are like, girl, I don't even know what you're talking about when it comes to the neuroscience of the brain. You don't need to know about the, mirror neurons or the part of your brain, that manages. All you need to know is you have two brains. You have a left side and you have a right side. And the right side is that sage side. It's the side where you get to tap into your creativity, and it requires daily and weekly practice. You might be like, I meditate on a regular basis. I tap into that. Can you tap into your Jedi superpowers in the middle of some shenanigans? That's what this allows you to do. So you do it when you don't need it. So when you need it, you just show up, right? And so you're always elevating your experience. We talk about there's 7 levels of living powerfully, and this is literally part of level 1. So I really have not even began to tell the story, but I got to get through this part of the story because it's so important. So daily and weekly practice is how we live powerfully. We had people come on and they were saying, hey, we do this in our business. Yes, you can do it in your business. You can do it in your home, but it's really about admitting, to yourself that you do get to decide that insight and information is not enough. It's just not enough. It is about what you do. So empathy being our first superpower, love is the essence of empathy. So we talk about this continuum, right? Where you can have low intensity or high intensity love or empathy, right? You can focus on these words like appreciation or gratitude or compassion, right? As it relates to the power of empathy. All these things are true, right? These are things that we get to tap into. One of my people that has gone through this part of this journey with us use the word grace, right? The superpower, right? Like being able to tap into your offering others and yourself grace, right? Tapping into, people talk about gratitude journals and how important that is. That is true. But it's like, how can you apply these things to yourself when you need it the most, right? So it is about leading in love. They're like, oh, that sounds so woo-foo, woo-woo, all of that. Woo-woo. Maybe. Ain't nothing wrong with a little love. Can we all just get along? So doing these PQ reps and activating the empathy circuitry in your brain, and then remembering whether it's a picture of you as a child or a picture of a puppy or anything that make a sunset, the water, I have this beautiful water view in front of me, whatever it takes for you to feel love, to feel joy, to feel that higher level of mental capacity that is, again, your right side of your brain. That's what the practice is. So you're doing these PQ reps on a regular basis, activating, you're not just doing them like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing them. You're doing them for these reasons. So your brain is like conditioned to activate, right? And then you can focus on love and empathy. And that's where the visualization comes in. You're using that sense memory to say, I'm not only doing a PQ rep, which pausing and breathing or touching my fingers or doing something, right? Some focus on something physical, which is what a PQ rep is. It's that pause. It's taking you out of autopilot and it's saying, do something different. So we've talked about this before. So I'm moving really quickly through this because I need for y'all to understand the fuller picture, right? But this is important. Feeling love, showing it is really, really important. Again, I'm gonna move really quickly through this. And when I do these in a way that I want people to feel, like that they get to go on a journey, right? We can do guided PQ reps. We talk about just breathing, inhale, pause, 3 seconds at the top of the breath, and then just exhale. Feel your body. I'm gonna do that a few times, 2 or 3 times. It only takes 10 seconds to like pause. If something's happening, all right, that thing is happening, smile. Tell your body it's okay because I'm about to go into my sage. I'm not going to do what I would have done if my saboteurs took over like I used to respond. Nope. I'm going to pause. And I'm gonna do this guided thing, right? I'm gonna guide myself. I'm gonna control myself in a way that allows me to truly, live powerfully. So it's a beautiful thing. So again, empathizing, you just got to follow up on that every day. Just remember, like, is this an opportunity for me to empathize more with myself or with others, right? And again, I'm moving pretty quickly through this because I wanted to also review what we call the sage perspective, right? This exploring and innovating, and I'm moving really, really, really fast, right? But we talked about the sage perspective, and then we talked a little bit about the explore power and the innovate power. And then we talked about accept or convert. And this is why I'm slowing down. So I wanted to get through the review. So now I'm gonna go forward from here, reminding everyone, right, of this concept of the sage perspective. And the beautiful, beautiful part of this whole living powerfully experience is that you're gonna learn 3 basic things, and then you can apply it to everything. There's like 22 applications at a minimum, right? That we have documentation that we can talk you through, right? Walk you through, that you can learn, that you can review yourself, right? But it's 3 things. There's only 3 things that we're asking you to do, right? To catch your saboteurs. That's saying, I see you. Like, I know, do your little saboteur assessment. It's free, on positiveintelligence.com. You want to see them. And then when you see them, you see them, meaning you see yourself, the controller in you, the pleaser in you, the avoider in you, whatever, we all have them, and there's not a problem because you're human, you got to have them. You just want to see them and catch them and say, I see you. This humor. You got to celebrate seeing them because you're like, I see you. I'm not going into autopilot because I see you, and I'm going to instead do a PQ rep, right? I'm going to energize my sage brain. I'm going to pause. I'm going to pray. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to squeeze my hands and release. I'm going to bring whatever it is to pause and remind your brain that I'm not going into autopilot down a path with responses and reactions that would cause all of my negative responses in life. All of your anxiety and everything is because of these saboteurs. So you get to say, yeah, no, I just going to do 3 things. The sage perspective has just 3 things you got to do. The whole living powerfully, not the whole living powerfully. This level 1 of living powerfully. It's just level 1, but I really do like this positive intelligence stuff. So I'm kind of sticking with it because I need to get the basics out there. Level 1 says I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to catch my saboteurs. I got to see them. I'm going to catch them. I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to energize my sage brain. So I am going to practice breathing, pausing, physical touch, my toes on the ground, feeling my butt in the seat. All those things are like PQ reps. And then I'm going to use these sage superpowers. I'm going to ask myself, is this the time when I should be more empathetic? Should I use this superpower of empathy more, right? And then again, other superpowers that exist, we have explore and innovate. We're going to talk about those really quickly. So again, the sage perspective is kind of like that umbrella mentality. What is your belief? And your belief leads to your thoughts, right? Your thoughts lead to your what? Emotions. It's your emotions that lead to your actions that lead to your results. So you got to start with your beliefs. That's how the human brain works, right? Your beliefs. It's a higher level belief of something that your thoughts are then, like, if you believe you're not worthy, then your thoughts are going to be aligned with that. You're going to feel some kind of way, which is not positive, right? Your emotions, and then your actions are going to be, well, I'm not worthy. You're going to sabotage yourself in various ways if you believe, right, that the world is out to get you, for example, then every time you see something, guess what you're going to see? Somebody trying to get you. And maybe someone told you that in your life. They're wrong. The truth is this sage perspective. It's scientifically proven. It's spiritually aligned. It's all the things, just so we're on the same page. The sage perspective says that every situation or every circumstance can be converted into a gift and an opportunity. A gift or an opportunity, sometimes both, right? So every situation can be, yes, even the shenanigans, the bad, horrible stuff, right? We don't need to talk about this again because I've talked about it many times before. This concept of the sage perspective says, well, what does that mean exactly? Hey, I believe overall that whatever's happening to me is going to work out for my good, period. Now, am I going to make it work out for my good, or I'm just going to accept that it will and keep it moving and show up with a smile on my face because I know that it's going to work out for my good, right? Does that make sense? Your saboteurs are going to say it's bad, it's horrible. And you're like, you're waiting in line, and you could be pissed off, or you could use that time efficiently, right? We talked about this last week. You make a mistake, so someone else make a mistake. So not that you're celebrating and saying do it more, but no, how do you turn that situation into a gift, right? Your own saboteurs, which you've seen because you know what they are, because you've done your saboteur assessment, you get hijacked, right? Meaning you respond in a way that's less than optimal. We call that a saboteur hijacking. When that happens, hopefully what you're doing is you're seeing it and you're stopping it. It's not the end of the world. It is not the worst thing that could have happened. It's bad. No, even that situation can be turned into a gift because hopefully you're going to do it so much faster. You're going to go through that hijacking and maybe have a moment for a second, a minute, and then you're going to choose something else. So you got to be in a position where you know that these things, whatever they are, conflict in your relationships, hardship, trauma, right? All of it, all the negative things, right? You don't want them to happen. You don't wish these bad things to happen, but you can generate the gift by using your sage power. So this is my gift to the universe, is just reminding us that we get to choose differently. Am I up? Yes. Am I excited? Yes. Because we have the ability to choose differently. So we talked about the first superpower, which was the power of empathize, the love. This is talking about explore, discovering the full truth. Right? We talked about this last week. We said there was an elephant example, right? We went through this and we said, what might be true? If you're standing at the elephant's leg and you feel something that's big and round and it feels like a tree trunk, yeah, that's true. But if you're at the front of the elephant and you feel the trunk and you're like, this feels like a hose. Or you're at the end and you feel a tail, a little snaky tail, and you're like, this feels like all is true. Each person, someone standing on the side of the elephant and it feels like a wall. And you're like, this feels like a wall. All is true. You're right. Each of those four people at the different side of the elephant is right. But what else might be true, right? You're not shutting somebody else down because their perspective is true too. So when you leverage that explore superpower, you're not making assumptions that someone else is wrong because you're right and they're right too. Does that make sense? What else might be true? There's a superpower in that, right? When you take a pause, take a beat, pause, and you're asking yourself, what else might be true? This is powerful. I pulled this together because I wanted y'all to be able to see, and I wanted to break it down, right? What else might be true? So this living powerfully experience is really the conversation around what else might be true. That's a superpower, meaning ask that question of someone. They say something that you don't like, something happens. One way that you can explore a superpower is to ask a question with no judgment. What else might be true in this situation, right? Same thing with generate and innovate, right? Innovate is generating new ideas. So like, how might this be a blessing? You know, how might I turn this into every situation can be turned into a gift and an opportunity? How might I generate a new idea about the gift and the opportunity? Well, that's this innovate superpower that you get to ask the question, right? You get to just throw out some ideas, generate new ideas with no judgment. But all of these are no judgment because you've been practicing no judgment earlier. So now as you activate, this is definitely a no judgment zone, right? So what's another idea? How else might this be a blessing? How else might this be a benefit to me? This situation that looks like it's about to be some shenanigans, to feel good about it, you can either accept it or convert it. If you're going to convert it, then you got to work the process, right? You want to explore what else might be true about this situation. You want to innovate and create some new ideas about how might this be, something positive that's going to work out for me. You don't have to do that though. You can just plain accept it. But if you want to work the process of saying, I want to create, I need to know what the gift might be, or you're helping someone else figure that out. This is the process that you can do with them, right? Look, who's speaking? Everything is working out for my good. That's right. I love it when people respond. Exactly. Everything works out for your good. Thank you, my people. I love it. So the thing you want to remember with this concept of innovate is you want to generate the ideas before you evaluate. So innovate is like, how do I create a high number of ideas, right? And you're only innovating or evaluating at the end. You're innovating to say, how might this be a blessing to me? How might this be a good thing? How might this shenanigans? So how do you turn some crazy into some, a positive experience? You can just accept it and say, I know it's going to work out for my good at some point. Or you can actually brainstorm a little bit. That's what innovate is. It's generating ideas without evaluating. So you're just generating with others or alone, however you want to do it, but it's working the process. I mentioned this last week as well. I said there's a 10% rule, right? Every idea is at least 10% useful, even if somebody says something crazy. Focus on what you do like about it, right? And then you continue to build on that. What I like about this is, even if it's just 10%, even the craziest, the people that are at a political odds, because there's a lot of political odds now, and people think everybody's crazy. There's a lot of crazy going around. I don't consider myself the party of red or the party of blue. I'm the party of purple. Can't we all just get along? Party of purple, right? It's red and blue. You guys get that? You see that? That's the part in the middle. Anyway, stay with me. So it's the 10% rule. Like, what about this? Somebody says something that you think is ridiculous. This is practicing your own brain trust, right? Like, what could be useful? What do I like about this? What part of this could be useful, or what can I build on, right? Because here's what I like about it. Here's my next idea. You don't want to overthink it. You just want to kind of go with the first idea, and you make it a fast, kind of fun process, right? It doesn't matter how impractical it feels. You want to keep it moving. So I'm gonna keep moving. I'm not gonna do this example. I'm gonna move through it. But I did want to pause here. I'm gonna go back to this accept. So we talked about contemplation. There's some stuff that happens when you get to practice this, right? So you all have situations in your life, I'm sure, where there's some, less than optimal occurrences happening around you, whether it's your at work, it's at home, someone said something, did something. Anytime you feel a negative feeling, right, about something, or something does not work out the way it appears that it should in your mind, you get to do a couple of things. You get to accept or convert. We were just talking about leveraging our empathize, our explore, and our innovate superpowers. Because again, you got to practice it. So that's the contemplation. You get to think about it. You don't have to wait till it happens. That's the beauty of this, right? You get to do a contemplation. You get to pause and plan. Right? Pause and plan. Like, okay, I know this has happened before. Maybe I did not respond the way I wanted to, but this is what I'm going to do instead. Like today, this is what I'm going to do, right? Or the next time this happens, next week when this meeting happens, this is what I'm going to do. And prep for whatever's going to happen, in the future. You're not planning something negative. You're saying, this is how I'm going to show up better. You like it when I put my smile on? Right? You saw it. You said, this is how I'm going to convert this thing. I'm going to explore, ask questions. What's the fuller truth to the situation? I'm going to explore some options. Like get some other people involved, because maybe my brain is too focused on something that's not a full story. I can get others involved if I need to. I can write it down and come back later and read it. That's important as well. But again, you also get to just accept. This is the one I do a lot. I like to say I have a bad memory for negative things. Crazy people show up and I try to sometimes I don't even listen. I can't, I hear you're ranting right now. I'm not going to read this long, crazy thing because I don't want it to even penetrate me. And maybe that's not fair, but sometimes I just say, you need to vent. I'm choosing not to let it in. That's like someone throwing you a dagger and you choosing not to be stabbed. Sometimes I will eventually come back and read it, but in the middle of the moment and all this stuff, it's like, I'm gonna accept. and I'm going to let go, right? Because I choose not to feel bad. I choose to feel at peace instead, right? Period. Like you get to decide what what success looks like to you. I got 2 minutes before break, y'all, so stay with me here. I got some really good stuff coming up next. So what I really, this is only halfway through. So what the idea of us truly being in a position where we either do one of three things, right? Option one is you either accept it and you have peace with it. We talked about this before. You can convert it into a gift, and that's where these superpowers come in. Or option three, you cannot accept it. Shenanigans is happening around you. You don't convert it, and you just feel bad about it. You just stay in a bad place. Option three is not an option in my life. That's not living powerfully. So we got two options, because option three is clearly what a lot of people do, right? Something has happened and you talk about it. You spend all this energy. Can you believe? Blah, blah, blah. He is so crazy. Blah. Yeah. True. Yeah. I try not to spend a whole lot of time and energy with shenanigans, right? I just try not to spend a lot of energy wasting time. So you can, option one is accept it and have peace with it. Accept that something just went down that was not ideal. PQ rep, pause, and celebrate the fact that you didn't go off. All right, that you didn't let your saboteurs take you into a place where you feel bad, because you're going to accept it and have peace with it, because I know it's going to turn out for my good. Does that make sense, y'all? And option two is saying, I'm going to convert it into the gift. That's the work. High IQ. Go ahead, LinkedIn user. Yes. So, right, exactly. We get to show up. So I got to take a quick little break, apparently, in 1 minute. But I need for us to really focus on something in your life that is happening that you want to transform. And when we come back, we're going to go through even more of the superpowers so that you're in a position to truly live powerfully and to truly transform. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Thanks.
Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
How is the air quality in your neighborhood? Do you feel comfortable breathing the outdoor air? We want to hear from you. The Puget Sound Clean Air Agency is hosting a community workshop in King County to shape the comprehensive climate action plan. And your input matters. Share your concerns, ideas, and lived experience with air pollution in your community. No expertise needed, just your voice. Register now at pscleanair.gov/CPRG. Participants may be eligible for reimbursement for their time. Be part of the solution. See you there.
What's going on, world? It's your boy OG Mambo.
And your guy D Money. Join us along with Pint Size Patron and ID Yourself
Here on Fresh Juice at Rainier Avenue Radio.
Every Wednesday hump day from 9 to 11 Pacific.
Get exclusive interviews from your favorite artists, all the hottest music, and updates on what we got going on in the world.
That's every Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. on Seattle's Rainier Avenue Radio.
We are strong. We are resilient. And we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone.
This is Big Bobby, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Love food? Here's some storage tips to keep it fresh longer. Store cut fruits and vegetables in the fridge. Place in reusable containers. Keep bread in the freezer for longer storage. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money, save food, save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Speak up, Seattle. We are Rainier Avenue Radio World, the station that cares.
Don't forget.
Oops, I'm sorry, I was muted. Hey, can y'all hear me? Hello. Thank you so much. So I could not be more excited, thank you, to take you all through this wonderful experience. And I'm so good on time right now. I think I'm talking a little fast, but I feel like I've said these things before. And sometimes I went too slow when I was trying to take people through, through the process. And so I wanted to pull it together in a way, that if they've done the other earlier things, then now you're able to truly layer this little icing on top, and you're like, ooh, this is everything. Like this is really, really, really good. So stay with me as we move forward and really focus on how do we truly transform. And we were just talking about this. I'm gonna go ahead and bring these slides back up. We were just talking about there's really three options in life. When we talk about living powerfully, when something shows up in our life, right? We were talking about these, accepting or converting. Accept means you just let it go of the bad feeling and you just decide to feel at peace. That's my favorite. This is my favorite. But there's really three options, right? You can accept it and have peace with it. Done. You let it go. Something happened. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to see the saboteur that would have shown up, my controller, right? Or my, avoider or my pleaser or whatever it might be. Those things are going to show up. And honestly, like I said, there's so many things that happen in my life. I've had to just accept and have peace with it. Did I mention I got hit by a drunk driver, DUI, and zero form of compensation in the whole process. And I'm still suffering from PTSD. So when I say I have to accept it and move on, I'm not glad that it happened, right? And I'm sure at some point I'm going to convert it into a gift. But right now, I just have to accept it and move on. Does that make sense? So you could just be like, man, woe is me. Where is the fun in that? And why would you waste your energy, right, speculating, percolating over things that are not aligned, things that are not going to benefit you, right? So if option one is to accept and have peace with it, what we're talking about are those superpowers that let you actually do this, right? And so again, the concept of we talked about empathize being superpower number one, explore and innovate, right? Or superpowers 2 and 3, it comes with these choices, right? You get to accept or convert. So which superpower you use depends on what you're trying to do. Right. So let me say that again. It's like this. I'm giving you a toolbox with hammers and paintbrushes and screwdrivers and drills and levels and all the things. You decide which thing you want, which tool you want to use based on what you want to do about the situation at hand, right? Because again, it's going to be different. You have people who are going to show up in your life. Again, it could be a person, it could be something at work, it could be whatever it is. Maybe I'm not thinking clearly. Okay, well, here's how you fix that, right? Accept and convert, right? So it's all the same things, right? Minimizing your saboteurs, tapping into your sage, your creative brain, right? The loving brain, the part that allows you to truly tap into all that you want to be, right? This is about, somebody wrote IQ in the chat. Thank you from LinkedIn. It's IQ and EQ. That's PQ. That's positive intelligence. That's why I like it. Is like level 1 of living powerfully. So I'm going to just keep that in there. I'm going to invest my time and energy in this. And I got to go back to some people and make sure that they're aware like what this actually means and how they can use it. So again, if you're accepting and converting, These are choices. So if something has happened and you're like, I just got to accept it and move on because I got to do my next thing. Then you can choose empathize perhaps as number one superpower, right? Right. Deciding you're going to see that other person or the other situation differently, and converting allows you to show up differently. So if you choose to convert, you're going to ask yourself, what might be one gift, right? One gift. What one gift? What might one gift be? Right? And then we went to that concept of thinking through multiple gifts, but what's one? What's one positive thing that could happen? And I mentioned gifts before. I used the term KPI, key performance indicators. You guys have heard that before, right? So if you just remember KPIs, when you're trying to think of what might one gift be, right? It could be the letter K stands for, it could be the gift of knowledge, right? This situation happened and I guess I'm gonna know better the next time. I guess I'm gonna be able to help somebody else the next time, right? It's a gift of knowledge. I know better. I've learned something, right? The gift of knowledge. The P could be the gift of perspective. I have a new perspective on this situation. Next time it happens to somebody else, I guarantee I'm gonna feel, differently because it's happened to me now. So I have a different perspective. I may just gain a new power, right? The P could be KPI. The P could be a new power. I'm now more equipped to do ABC, to handle this kind of thing. Again, I like to talk about surfers. Surfers love big waves when they learn how to surf, right? You're not out there with a little wave. You're like, hey, I know how to pop up. I know how to balance. You don't want it to be too big, but you need to be big enough to challenge your skills, right? If you're comfortable. So same here. When shenanigans jumps off, ask yourself, what could it be? Okay, I have a new power. I'm now equipped to handle a bigger wave. I'm now equipped to handle more shenanigans. Not that I want more, but when it does handle, I'm going to be the person that people look at who's saying, ooh, she's so calm and she's so cool and she's so collected and she's so, all the things. And what I love about this is you can apply this to diversity, equity, and inclusion in a way that most people haven't even thought about. So with the DEI being under attack, right? This is just generically, how can you be your best self? But I can also show organizations who can't talk about DEI at all. Those are letters that you can no longer say, God help us. You don't need to talk about DEI because everyone is going to be looking at their own saboteurs. Everyone's going to be choosing to live in a sage way. They're going to find the good in the situation. They're going to choose to accept or convert. Are you loving this? I think I'll get excited. Okay. I'll calm down. So if you choose to convert, you ask yourself, what might one of the gifts be? I mentioned KPIs, right? The gift of knowledge, the gift of power, a new perspective. The I in the KPI, what one gift might be if I'm going to try to convert this thing, right? It could be a new insight. I got a new little piece of information that's going to help me piece some other stuff together, right? I don't have the full picture, but I have a new piece of insight, some new information, right? I'm now more inquisitive because I'm practicing asking questions and exploring. Like this is something that I never would have imagined. So now I can be more inquisitive as well, right? More curious. So KPI. So you can remember that again, if you're going to convert this situation into a gift, right? You can just remember these are some of the easy low-hanging fruits when I think about what might one of the gifts be. KPI, knowledge, power, information, perspective, insights, right? All of that. So that's super easy, but I love it. I think it's really important that we understand we get to choose, right? You get to choose a gift. So if you choose one, and then you do want to make this mind-body connection, which is why all these things that we talk about when we talk about doing a PQ rep, the pausing, the breathing, also celebrating when you see a saboteur and you shut it down. You don't even have to, it's not like it's ever going to go away. None of us are perfect, but if it only shows up for a second as opposed to putting you into a 2-week spin, that's something to celebrate, right? If it, you know what I'm saying? If it impacts you for a much shorter amount of time, you still get to celebrate. So now you're building new neural pathways, right? So that mind-body connection comes with seeing yourself differently, celebrating, right? And building that mind-body connection. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. So again, we do practice. We do want to practice the accept. So again, these are things that you can think about before it happens. You don't have to wait. You get to practice accepting. Okay, let me tell you, because again, you've seen it. You know what I'm saying. People show up and you're like, okay, I know what's going to happen in this meeting because she always says something. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to practice breathing. I'm going to feel my feet on the floor. I'm going to squeeze this is a really soft makeup brush, right? So I'm just going to rub this on my hands. You can't really see me doing this, so that's why I touch my face. It's a really soft, like almost feels like mink. So like if I just want to be, I'm brushing my hand, right? Or you can squeeze something like your phone really, really, really tight, like squeeze it as tight as I can. It's not going to break, right? So you get to decide, right, how you want to show up. But whatever's going to happen physically, that's why I said mind-body connection. You do want to do both of those things. So you want to practice accepting. And one of the things they say is like squeeze, 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 and release. I accept the situation. So I do like squeezing. I'm going to squeeze my brush really hard. I'm going to squeeze my phone. Put them both down and release. So you're driving, remember I mentioned this, you're driving, some crazy people are, in front of you, they cut you off. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the wheel tight. You're not going to let go of the wheel, but you're going to like loosen your grip. Right? Loosen. So you're just relaxed. I accept. I wish you well. Right? Because I wish me well. I don't need to keep none of that energy in me. This is not even about the other person. This is about you practicing to accept. You're not saying I want you to do bad to me some more. You're saying when they do right, you're still life is going to work out for you. You already know. This is how do you release stress, right? So you can tense up your body, your hands, or some other part of your body, and then just say, I choose to accept. Say the words, by the way. There is something to the mind-body connection. Say, I choose to accept, right? Debrina does this work around releasing, like forgiveness work, where you say, I release the feeling of betrayal, if that's what you feel. I release the feeling of betrayal, and I just choose to accept peace. And you can say it loud if you need to. I release the feeling, right? So you can do these things in advance. You're prepping for the situation. And then after or before, during, you want to be, at your best. These are choices. So I choose to accept, right? That's the other part of it. I love that so much. So again, accept is not passive. You're not saying I deny that this thing ever happened. You're not saying I accept it and I want more people to do bad stuff to me. That's not at all what we're saying. We're saying you want to choose joy, right? And you may have to choose joy 50 times because other people may keep coming at you. You may choose joy the first 3 times, and then somebody comes at you again, and we get to then create joy. And that's why it's important to bring other people into a conversation with some of the things you're doing so that they can also show up differently, right? When they can see their saboteurs, and we can help how to have different conversations. But that's why you have a coach as well. Did I mention I'm a coach? I never say that, but I am. So this is how we help people in specific situations, help others, help those around them, right? So accept needs to be repeated as often as the judge or any of your saboteurs show up. I accept again. It's not forever. You don't accept once and you're done. Okay, I accept. Now let me move on. And this is not going to bother me again. No, you may have to keep practicing. Again, you're building new neural pathways because it used to bother you. That's an old neural pathway that's more ingrained. So now you're building new pathways and you're saying, nope. Nope, I'm gonna work this process. So again, you want to work it, you want to practice. So accept or convert. There are multiple versions of this, and so you do get to play with this concept, right? So let this be a different day for you. And just remember, it is a sage step. We talk about PQ reps and sage steps. Sage steps is doing something different. It's saying, I remember my PQ reps, I remember my saboteurs, I see them, but I have to do something different now. I have to either accept or convert what the heck is happening right now. Again, accept is the easiest. Converting is, again, kind of that next level. Accept is saying I get the sage perspective, and then converting, like I said, you use these superpowers. So let me keep moving. Again, if you choose to accept, you can do that. What I just said, you tense up, release your body. If you convert, what's one gift? You don't need to have all the gifts. That's a whole nother deeper exercise. What's one gift that might come out of this? And I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to move really quickly. I move quickly. I'm not going to, we already talked about this, but I do like this page. So we talked about, again, there's 3 things that you get to do, right? Catch your saboteurs. That means you're going to catch the judge and these accomplice saboteurs. That's all. That's catching your saboteurs. That's what we do in the first few weeks. It's like foundational. Second, you want to energize your PQ brain. And you do that through these you do that through these PQ steps. PQ reps and sage steps. That's actually what you're doing, right? When you spend the time with the PQ rep, you're choosing to pause and energize your sage brain, right? That's beautiful. And then to use your sage powers, again, you're remembering the sage perspective. Every situation can be turned into a gift. These are the tools in your toolbox. Empathize, explore, innovate, right? Stay with me because there's more, right? You also get to activate. This is one of my favorite sage powers. Activate is about being in sage action, not just doing some things, but you would have hopefully empathize first, right? Hopefully you would have explored, and you want to ask questions without judgment. You're not activating first. You got to fuel that sage brain. You got to shut down the saboteurs. You want to practice the other things. There's no prescribed order, but if you're activating first, then you're not necessarily, most likely, right, in the right frame of mind. If you haven't done the work of empathizing with the other person, seeing them as a young person, seeing yourself, right, all the things that we talked about with empathize, exploring what else might be true in this situation, innovating, what are some of the gifts that could come out of this? Now you've done a lot of that, right? Now you can begin to think about either navigate or activate. Navigate is where you look into the future and say, what would my older self want me to do right now? I can do a whole bunch of things, but what would older Traci want me to do? What would younger Traci want me to do, right? How does she want me to show up? You know what I'm saying? So activating is activating in sage action. You're not just activating. It's about being in ease and flow. This is the living powerfully experience. This is part of it. It's level 1 of living powerfully. God help us. So again, you want to break down. This is back to activate. If activate is one of your superpowers, you want to break down the action, whatever you think you want it to do, in small steps. And then you want to laser focus on just the next step. You're not doing all the things. Right? So activate is about, I'm just going to do one thing. I'm going to break down the action into small steps, and I'm going to laser focus on just the next step. That's being in sage. I'm not looking to the end. I'm disconnecting from the outcome. I'm just going to do this one thing. And the universe is still going to work out for my good. Don't you love that? The universe is still going to work out for my good, right? The situation is always going to work out for my good. But I'm still going to take an action, but I would have done the other superpowers first. Does that make sense? I love this so much, and hopefully I'm making this very clear. But it is about being laser focused. Like, this is the one thing I'm going to do. I'm not even going to think about the other things, right? I'm a PQ rep, breathe and touch and squeeze, and there's all kind of things. Walk and look at the trees and smell the flowers or whatever you want to do, right? I'm going to do all kinds of things. You can look in someone's eyes, and you can PQ rep just by looking in someone's eyes. Seeing the flex. If they have beautiful brown eyes, seeing the flex of their eyes. If you think they have a beautiful smile, compliment their beautiful lip gloss. I'm joking. Right. But like, look deeply into the people that you're connecting with on a daily basis. And you can be laser focused, right, on empathizing with them, exploring with them, innovating with them, right? Or just with yourself, thinking, okay, what am I going to do differently here? But once you've done that and you've navigated and you realize this is the outcome that I want, this is how I want to show up, activate, right, and navigate. Those are the last two that typically happen, right, in the toolbox, right, the finishing touches, right? You're not activating first if you haven't, like I said, explored, empathize, explored, and innovated. You're going to do some of that. But then you want to be laser focused on just one thing. Right? You want to command your mind to focus on the action and keep letting go of all the distractions as they come, and they will come. So I just want to pause here to say, it sounds easy to say, I want to activate and just do one thing. Our minds are not designed that way. That's why it's so clear that you want to activate and do one thing. I'm just going to bam, right? Whatever that is in the moment. Right? So you want to command your mind. How do you command your mind? With the PQ rep. Right? These are choices. I get to accept or convert. I'm going to move through this process. So command your mind to focus on the action and letting go of the saboteur distractions as they come up. So I'm going to move through this. You get to use any of the sage superpowers, any of them, right? But if you're choosing activate, all you're asking yourself with the activate superpower is, what is needed now? What do I need to do right now? That's really the simple question. Like with explore and innovate, you know, you're trying to figure out what's the gift with the sage perspective. Am I going to accept or convert? You get to decide, right? But what do I need to do right now? Now I've done all the things. What's needed right now? Just in this moment. What's the one next step that's needed right now? And activate is really about using your sage brain, but you just want to be very clear on how you're doing it, right? If the next step is clear, you laser focus on it, right? With activate. If it's not clear, you're going to use another sage power. Just want to make sure we're clear. Like it's okay for you to be like, okay, I got to go back and do some more empathizing, right? I got to pause and really think about myself and others and the situation, right? That's a whole situation. So if it's not clear what to do, that too is okay, because the next step is to go back and use another sage superpower. So you want to go back and empathize again. You want to feel love and appreciation for just being alive, right? You want to feel gratitude for yourself and others. You want to pause and be like, thank you, Jesus, right? For this moment in this situation, I want to feel the love. That's again, you go backwards. And then you want to explore. I want to discover the full truth of the situation. Why am I so loud? I get very excited. I get a little excited. But you want to discover the full truth of the situation. Then you want to innovate. What are some new ideas? How can this thing become a gift and an opportunity? How do I accept or convert? I don't even know which one I want to do right at the moment, right? If I accept, it means this. I just let it go and keep it moving. If I convert, then there's what converted to what? That's the innovating, the new ideas, right? And if I navigate, what is truly important before you activate? Because again, you don't know what to do yet. This is saying if you don't know what to do, then you go back to the other superpowers. Navigate is saying in the grand scheme of things, at the end of your life, end of this week, end of this moment, end of this project, what's going to be truly important about the relationship, about your performance? How do you want to have shown up in the universe, right? Lord, I got to care. How much time do I have, my darling? I think I know. So you want to, again, ask yourself, now you've done that again. You've gone back through those superpowers and you want to ask yourself again, what is needed now? What is needed now? And I love this so much. Again, if the next step is clear, then you're going to laser focus on that step once again. So again, being in a position where you can live powerfully says you're not going to let your automatic saboteur show up in your life. You're not. You're going to remember that you have these superpowers, right? If it's not clear, then you go back to those sage powers. You go back and you explore and you do all the things. But it's just the first step that you're going to be focusing on. You want to make sure it's small and it's sufficient enough for you to feel complete, right? In the moment. Like I did it, I can celebrate this thing. I did a thing. I took one step. So activating is about making it a small step, sufficient enough that you feel like I've made progress toward this goal and you're done. That's it. You can go back to activating, you can do, but it's a process. I want to make sure this is clear. Small, but sufficient, right? It's not all or nothing, right? You want to energize your sage brain throughout this process because, again, your saboteurs are going to be whispering in your ear. Remember the movie, what was it called? Inside Out. I love that movie. Inside Out 1 and 2. They're so good. Same concept. We got these little voices in our head. You want to shut the ones down that are not going to show up well for you. Just shut them down immediately. That's what we do. We don't give them airtime anymore. We shut them down. We say, hey, I see you. No, not today. That's it. You give them the hands. No. And then you energize your sage brain so that your sage superpowers are going to show up and allow you to show up in your best. You want to anticipate those saboteurs showing up, showing out, and you want to shut them down. You want to anticipate the saboteur interference and go ahead in advance and prepare a sage response ahead of time. I could keep going, but I think I'm going to stop right here because I think it's so important that we remember. Again, you get to embody these superpowers. So when we talk about embodying the concept of the activate power, it's choosing one, but it's also saying I'm going to activate only after I've used the other superpowers as well. I've empathized, I've explored, I've asked questions, right, without judgment. It's such a beautiful thing. So I think I am going to stop right here, actually. It's really important. You know, again, we mentioned this. It's important to ask what's needed now. We've said this already, so I'm gonna keep moving. And there's tons of applications. This is what we're going to focus on next week. Is I'm going to go a lot deeper actually. I'm going to go a lot deeper next week into how you can apply these work-life applications. Like these are some. There's like 22 individual topics that we could talk about. And so I'm going to talk a little bit next week about some of these. Like, how do you take everything I'm talking about with Living Powerfully, with the positive intelligence? Again, this is what we said we wanted to do, how we want to show up in community. This is for young people, it's for old people, it's for families, it's for work, right? But you get to apply it to stress management, performance management, working and living with difficult people, right? You want to focus on work-life balance, health, dieting, parenting, leadership, coaching, self-actualization, DEI, we didn't mention that, but it really does apply there as well without you even using the word, because it all applies. And so we got a lot of work that we can talk about with that as well. But being in a position where you understand that you get to choose how you apply these very, very simple skills and opportunities, right? These 3 things we said you're going to be doing. We're going to minimize our saboteurs. We're going to fuel our sage brain, and we're going to activate our superpowers, our sage superpowers. That is this work. It is for us. It is amazing. It is wonderful. And I am so excited for those of you who've been staying with me. I love the comments. I get emails. Put my email in there. Let's do that real quick. Traci at itsallbiggerthanme.com. If there's any question, it's all bigger than me.com. Okay, he'll put that in there for me, hopefully. Put it into the private chat. Okay, so you guys reach out. Like I said, this is about us showing up. If there's any questions you have, please reach out to me. If there are any questions, yeah, I'm gonna have to have my producer put that in there. Thank you for all the comments in the chat. I appreciate it. I can only kind of see them a little bit. Sorry. So it looks like we are about to end the show. Are there any announcements that I need to make? Apparently, the next show is going to be Lidline Sports. Thank you, producer. Lidline Sports with host Pep and O. And next week, again, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how do we take all these things we've been talking about for weeks on end and how do we apply them to you living your best life in all these various ways. If you want me to focus on a particular thing and go deep, just email me and we can make that happen. All right, y'all. This is Dr. Traci Harrell. This has been my pleasure. My joy. Go out and live powerfully.